Welcome back, guys, into another daily recap. Today is the 1st of November, first day of the month. We're going to do our usual analysis on gold, Bitcoin, Euro dollar, GJ, and of course, we're going to look at the dollar index as always. So let's start with gold. As always, starting from the morning, we already talked about this during the day on Telegram, the update. We were expecting here, as you can see, buys at 1781 after London pullback to grab some liquidity after failing to break above 1785. High risk, high reward buys, safer buys above 1785 and above 1789 as well. As you can see, price did exactly a liquidity grab and then pushed bullish. We could also say that 1795 we had some further rejection with the price never closing above and giving you like 30, 50 pips of sells at rejection of 1795. Let's see on the 1 minute, as you can see here, we see from the morning exactly the price action expected, the double top but double bottom at exactly 1781, not a single 1 minute candle breaking below, and then after that just bullish action, liquidity was grabbed, giving you high risk, high reward, safer buys here for the first leg. As you can see, we are still reacting at these previous highs. After that, we see a deeper correction, but still very impulsively breaking above 1785 again, still making new highs. Now we are more clearly above 1789, which was, so we had the medium risk and the safer entries. This price action was not the clearest. Of course, during New York, we had some news that we're going to see here. We created another block, but after all, especially after, I think was what time it was? 3 p.m. So around here, we had further confirmation of price action. And as you can see, we bounced again, and then more decisively with some further confirmation, we broke and made into new highs, reacting at 1795. So these were high risk reward, middle risk, safer buys. The safer buys were not safest because we found another block, but still this price point when we tested was good for quick 60 pips scalps. As you can see also as well, you see that 1795 was still unbroken because we see a double top and then further continuation down for like 50 pips as per morning analysis. After that, we were just ranging between these levels with no further clear price action. So we had high risk, high reward buys here playing out nicely for at least 60, 70 pips. We had safer buys, medium risk buys playing out for 37 or 60 pips, and the safer buy from here 60, 70 pips, 65, 60 pips. As you can see here, today we had 245, we had the market manufacturing purchasing manager index, and which was worse than expected and worse than prior. Then 15 minutes later, we had various manufacturing uh, indexes as well, which overall were not good for the US dollar. And I talked about in the Telegram channel. And let me show you here. We had further USD reports, new orders decrease, prices paid increase, and PMI decrease. So overall, worse for the dollar. That's why we also had that those buys again playing out above 1789 more clearly. Going on Bitcoin, as you can see here, starting from the morning, we saw an immediate bounce of 60 something. This price point, this demand area, we never got these cells because we never closed below. We got the bounce and the continuation up that we're going to see on the 1 minute chart. And then on the way back, we identified the rejection from these previous price points. And we identified with many confirms that price was going to break below here, and we could take advantage to all the range down. So as you can see here on the 1 minute chart, here, so very good. Okay. Okay. As you can see here, we got the bounce exactly at 60 our at our price point, which was like 60,300, and we got the further confirmation for buys at 60,500, or safer here 6750. So you have the first confirmation of price trending after the rejection at your demand area, and after that you have further confirmation when the price breaks and retest multiple times the previous PSA and the PPL, and then we have a break and retest again. We are sort of reacting at 61,700, and then continuation up. After that, you see price creates at these highs another block, multiple attempts to break above 1, 2, 3, and then what we identified also during the session was a double top, then lower high, wedging, contracting against these price points is exactly the same. As you can see, lower high, lower high. You can identify a bearish trend, lower high, and still you see a contraction against this PSA, which is also slightly above 61,700, which is the price point for the high risk reward cells. And I showed you how we had multiple. So we have the first high risk reward entry. We have another entry here at the PPL. We have another entry here, another PPL, another entry here at the PPL. And then, of course, we were revisiting the huge demand area that was for the buys. And as I showed you, this was a huge PSA, and that's why we had also a huge bounce, liquidity grab, and then a huge bounce of more than 100 pips in a few minutes, only to then correct it almost completely. We are now back here. So safe sells, of course, will only be below this demand area. But as you can see, price bounced already. But very nice analysis playing out on Bitcoin. Let's jump on Euro Dollar. I didn't watch it at all today. Really nice. So from the morning, as you can see, we never broke below. So of course, these price points were not valid. Let's see about here. Okay. Look at the buys, how they played out perfectly. So the sells, so we are here, very good. Okay. So the sales were here at these previous order block lows, 115.87, around here. Okay, so let's jump into it. We had the buys from this previous price point, which was 1.1562, 1.1652, as you can see here. So we identified that we were creating, of course, a bearish trend. We bounced aggressively from this previous PSA 1.1550, which was these previous lows, as you can see. We also had this sell point. So why it wasn't valid? This price point was not the best one. That's why you have this first confirmation, but you have the first rejection at the price point, but you never got confirmation of sells. You never saw exhaustion from buyers. You only saw one candle bearish and then immediately engulfed, break above, a deeper retest. So kind of sketchy. I showed you live that there were two candles here or possible buy setups with 6 pips would have been still valid, of course, and you can enter your buys there if you have 6, 7 pips. Further on inside, you are still live. You have multiple retests. This another re-entry possibility. Not the cleanest price action, but indeed closing above another PSA. Not the cleanest, and in New York, exactly the retest, and then we played if it was still alive, still possible. Otherwise, you have the same re-entry because you never closed below this price point. So the sell idea was completely invalid. You have the weakness of the USD, as we saw on gold, was exactly the same here. So I would honestly just this one can easily be another block. There you go. Because as you can see also, you have this high risk high reward entry, but you also have the buys above the top, the top of the order block. This is the price point where we could have had sells, but see that we never broke the bullish structure. We never made a lower high, lower lows. So that's why the sells were invalid, were not even to take into consideration the sells here. So we got the buys here, we got the buys at 70, exactly here, and above the order block highs, and then just breaking above, creating another block, grabbing liquidity, break and retest again as 1595. 15.95. As you can see, we played all the, as you can see, safer on about 1.1587 with intraday closures. This hourly close was exactly closing above, retesting, and then continuation up. So perfectly on the dot. Here, hourly close. Here, then retest, and then continuation up. As you can see, and then we were bouncing from these previous highs. We're bouncing at this on the block, this price sensitivity area on the left. But as you can see, played out a risk reward for 40 pips, medium risk for 35, and here the safer for like 20 pips. Let's see, GJ. As you can see, the buys were invalid. Got sort of maybe on the 1 minute was, yeah, we didn't have any single was too impulsive to enter, so these buys were not valid. We ended up ranging a lot, so I had sells below 1.56, which actually played out, but as you can see, yes, we could have had multiple entries here for 20 pips. Here we got like 6 pips, then a possible loss or exiting at break even. Not the cleanest price action. Only here after London close you had like 30 pips of clean price action below the level. So I'm not saying that the analysis played out or played out clean. Of course, the buys, as I showed you, yes, they played out the buys from here to the next level, PPL, but yeah, 30 pips, but unless you really entered impulsively here, you didn't have any. Look at the next two candles were already too high to enter. And just to close off, we have the dollar index as well went much bearish than I was expecting. I was not expecting this bearish action. I was expecting buys at these levels, but still we can still see here overnight going from here here. Of course, if it breaks below, we are going into sell and further dollar weakness. Okay, guys, this is it for today. See you guys tomorrow.